Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. For those of you that are new, hello, my name is Amber and I am one of the vloggers taking part in the Positive Birth Company's TTC Diaries. So this is volume 3, I believe, maybe volume 4. I can't remember if it's, I think it's 3. I think this is my 3rd video. I hope you're all doing really well. So the last time we spoke, I was telling you all about why my husband Marco and I have chosen to go abroad, specifically Greece, for IVF cycle 3. A lot has happened since then, in all honesty, so let's take a moment and just breathe, as I feel like this is going to be a bit of a whirlwind video and there's going to be an awful lot to update you on, so please do bear with me. But like I say, the last time we spoke, we had just decided that we were going to go to Greece for IVF cycle 3. Now in that time, a lot has changed. It hasn't changed in the sense that we are still going to Greece and that is still our plan. I have also had a fringe cut in, which is today driving me crazy because it's about 4 weeks post cut, and it's now turning into curtains. So if it would like to play ball, I'd really appreciate that. Anyway, we have had a few developments since then. So I can't remember how much I went into in the last video, but our doctor had asked us to have a few different tests done, one of which we're still waiting on. So my husband's DNA fragmentation test we are still waiting to do. We are going to be doing that in just under 2 weeks. So in the next volume, the next video, you will see all the results of that, hopefully, if they've come back. But yeah, things have changed quite dramatically. So you might remember that I said we were going abroad in September and that was our plan. Now, the blood tests that I had done, I had my AMH done, I had my vitamin D done, I had my thyroid, my vitamin B12, and a few other just little ones on the side that were kind of part of the profile. Now my AMH came back at 28. So my AMH is effectively higher than they would expect it to be at my age, which is great and is also to be expected because I have PCOS. For those of you that don't know what PCOS is, it's a syndrome of the ovaries, which basically means that you have more male hormone in your body. So you are overproducing insulin, or your body kind of struggles to regulate insulin. And you also, like I say, have a higher level of testosterone and androgen in your body. So as a result of this, I don't ovulate very often. I grow hair in places that you don't really want hair. I mean, you might do, but I personally don't want a beard, and therefore I don't want hair on my chin, and so on and so forth, like on your back, on your nipples, you get it everywhere. But let's not paint me as a gorilla, as you can see. But yeah, you just get the odd hair here and there, which is a bit unwanted. So it's expected that my AMH is going to be higher than normal, which was fine. My consultant wasn't concerned about that at all. My thyroid came back fine, my vitamin B12 came back fine, which, to be honest, I was really surprised at. So my vitamin B12, I thought was going to be low because every month around, well, I say every month like I have a regular period, but whenever my period is due, I get an awful lot of ulcers, I'm really tired, I'm quite sluggish. In actual matter of fact, I think I've got PMDD, which is a whole story for another day, but that's basically like a really extreme version of PMS. So it's not B12 related, but I thought it was. My vitamin D levels, however, did come back really quite low. Therefore, I have had to up my dose of vitamin D. So my dose of vitamin D, I am at now on 2,000, I can't remember if it's UI or milligrams, but I think they're the same thing. But I'm taking 2,000, let's say, milligrams a day in order to get that up. So low vitamin D is quite common in the UK because we don't have any sunshine, although we have had a week of beautiful weather, apart from today. Today it has decided that it's going to rain cats and dogs, which is gross. And tomorrow I am doing a 26-mile walk, so I am sincerely hoping that the sun comes back out. Maybe not too hot, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so my vitamin D levels did come back quite low, so they've upped my dose on that. But other than that, blood test wise, everything came back absolutely fine. However, I then had to do a vaginal microbiome, which is a swab test. So I had to do this swab test so they could test for any infections, any STIs, anything like that that is present within the vagina. So I did that, which, to be honest, wasn't a bad experience at all. So we did ours through a company called Invivo. The blood tests we did through a company called Medichecks, and it was a case of a finger prick test that you do yourself at home, which is fine. Wasn't too much of a big deal at all. And then the vaginal test, you get sent these 2 really big swabs. I say they're really big, they're not, well, they are, they're really big. They're really thin, but you honestly, you don't feel a thing. It is just like putting a really, really thin tampon in and wearing it around a little bit. It's absolutely fine. So I had to do that, and you have to take your pH level at a certain time in the morning. I think I had to do it in the morning, I can't remember, but you have to do it at a certain, yeah, you take your pH level and then you do your swab and you send it back, and they obviously analyse it. So mine came back that I did have a slight infection. Now I knew that this was gonna be the outcome. I'd pretty much guessed that this was going to be the outcome on the basis that when I did the pH test, Dr. Google here, straight away, I'm looking it up, and I could see that my pH level was too high. You effectively do this swab, and you then have a colour chart, and whatever colour the swab develops into, you kind of have to compare it, and then you will write your pH level down because it will tell you. So I knew that mine was a bit high. It was a bit more on the alkaline side than the acidic. I think it came back at something like 5.5. So it was only just over, really. It wasn't too high. So obviously I'm Googling it, and I can see that there's a certain things that would lead to that, such as infections like BV. If you've not heard of BV, that's bacterial vaginosis. It's really, really common. It is just a bacterial infection, and you can get like stuff over the counter to deal with it. Now I kind of knew this was going to come back as soon as I saw that my pH level was slightly high, because I also really used to suffer with BV. So years and years and years ago, kind of well before we started trying, I would get BV quite a lot, and I went to the doctors a few times, and the doctors had said to me that it was fine and I just needed to get some stuff over the counter. Realistically, I think now, having done a bit of research into it, if you are having it on a regular basis, you should probably speak to your doctor about getting antibiotics. But I was just treating it with like over the counter stuff, a bit like Canna's Floor, or what is it, Caniston that you get for thrush, something a bit like that. And around the time of my period, I always kind of suffer with a few little issues that aren't particularly normal, that I always kind of just put down to a hormone imbalance, when actually it's obviously the sign of an infection. So Dr. George, my consultant, has advised me to take some over-the-counter medication, which I'm doing, and he's also asked that I get some antibiotics from my GP. I can't remember what they're called. I have got them written down. I'll be able to tell you actually. I wrote everything down on post-it notes because I couldn't find my notepad when we had our meeting. Oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have bothered. Maybe I should have just left it. Metronidazole. No idea. But he wants me to take those twice a day, 400 milligrams twice a day for 7 days. So that is what I need to do. I need to get on the phone to my doctor and ask that they prescribe me that. If they won't prescribe it to me, then my consultant is going to write a letter to my GP and request that they do so. So that was me in a nutshell, and I am also having to take Canna's Floor probiotics, which is just like a vaginal pessary. I have to just have one a day for, I think it's 6 days, and then once a week from there on in. He's also advised that my husband takes Impril, which is another supplement, but it's meant to help with DNA fragmentation. Now, we don't know whether or not there is a problem with DNA fragmentation as of yet. We have got that test in a couple of weeks, like I said, but he has advised that we take that now, just in case, and because at the end of the day, all it's going to do is improve the sperm quality. So for him, it was best that we tried it now. It was £45 for a month, for a month's worth, so it's not cheap, but when is anything with IVF? So yeah, that's kind of the route we're on now. He has also agreed to manage my cycle. So one of my main concerns about going abroad was that everything is really last minute. So my husband is self-employed, he's a hairdresser. I am not self-employed, I work from home, so it's not an issue. I can work pretty much anywhere. However, In terms of getting the time off and things like that, I do really need a bit of notice. My husband definitely needs a bit of notice. Although obviously he has the flexibility of being self-employed, he doesn't want to be phoning his clients like the day before and cancelling 2 weeks worth of clients. So he wants to be able to give them a heads up that around this time there is a good chance that their appointment might move. Also, when we had our very first cycle of IVF, my cycle was due mid-August, and that is when we were supposed to be starting IVF, and I didn't actually start my period until November. It was really late October, early November, so that was a pain in the and I didn't want that happening again. I didn't want to plan to go abroad in September and actually not be getting out there till January. So he has agreed to put me on either norethistone or Provera, which is medication that I will be on for 7 to 10 days before my cycle, and it will hopefully induce my cycle on a certain date. So that's great. However, a spanner was then thrown into the works, and he did tell us that he would like us to start as soon as possible so that I don't have to be on antibiotics any longer than is reasonably needed. So he doesn't really want me to be on them for any more than 7 days, but obviously if the infection is recurring, then there's nothing to say that it won't come back next month or between now and September. So he has asked us that if the DNA fragmentation test comes out all right and the results are fine and there's not any fragmentation, he has asked that we fly out in July as opposed to September, which means this time in 6 weeks I could be in Greece, which is wild. And I don't really know how I feel about it. Like, I'm really excited because I was getting so impatient at having to wait till September. Like, we've already waited long enough. This is our 3rd cycle. We've left literally, I think we're about 15 months post our 2nd cycle. So we've had a really, really big break. So now I'm like, right, I just want to get out there and I just want to do it. But in the same breath, I don't feel like I've given myself enough time to prepare. Like, I have been enjoying myself, let's say, for the last year. And I think especially now lockdown has started to ease and we're able to get back to a bit of normality. I have been going out for dinner and I've been drinking a lot of wine with my friends. And throughout the whole of June, I have so many plans because we were like, right, June will be our last month of just going all out. And then as of July, we will give ourselves 2 to 3 months to just detox almost and eat all the fertility friendly food and drink all the pomegranate juice and go completely sober and not have any caffeine. I'm not going to beat myself up about it too much because I think at the end of the day, whether or not I drink a pomegranate juice a day or whether or not I eat an avocado a day, that is not going to be the difference between my IVF working and my IVF not working. My protocol is completely different this time. I'm going to be on Gonal F instead of, beforehand I've been on Benfola or Menopure, whereas now I'm going to be on Gonal F. I'm going to be doing a double trigger. I don't really know why. The protocol is completely different in that my dose is going to be like twice what it was before. So it is completely different, and I don't really believe that eating a pineapple core is going to be the make or break of my treatment. So I'm not too worried. And I don't know whether or not, like, we had a conversation about whether or not we were going to completely cut out alcohol or not. Like, it's a personal choice. I think whatever you do what's right for you. I've known some people not cut out alcohol at all until transfer, and it has worked. I have known people cut out everything and change everything in their life and it not work. So I really do think it's personal choice. But I have obviously decided that if we are going in July, then I am going to be trying to manage as much as I can within that time frame, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it too much. So we've started really making sure that we're on it when it comes to our supplements and that we are taking those all the time. I'm making sure that I'm taking my metformin. I'm making sure that I am living as much of a healthy lifestyle as I can without restricting myself. So that's where we're at the moment. So we have just under 2 weeks until we have this DNA fragmentation test, and the results for that take about 2 to 3 weeks. So we're doing that with a company called Fertility Solutions. The results take about 2 or 3 weeks, like I said, and so it is still going to be really quite last minute. It is going to be a case of, right, we've got the results back, and if the results are fine, getting on the phone to Dr. George and saying, let's get out there ASAP Rocky. Whereas if they're not, like I say, we're waiting until September anyway. So I'm not getting myself too much in a tizzy about it because everything could change. But the fact that we have literally gone from having a 3-month wait to suddenly we're off, I don't know, it's blown my mind a little bit, like what a day that was. Also on that day, I feel like I do need to share this because I feel like this is a massive achievement. For those of you that don't know, I lead the Fight for IVF campaign, which is a campaign fighting, clues in the name, for IVF, but for NHS equality and access to NHS funded treatment across the country. So in England, where you live massively determines how many cycles of IVF you're entitled to. So where I live, I am not entitled to any rounds of IVF whatsoever on the NHS, and that is the case in 3 different CCG areas in England. So they are Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, Basildon and Brentwood, and Mid-Essex. So I say unfortunately, I don't mind it, but I live in Cambridgeshire, and therefore that's really had an impact on us, as it financially has just crippled us paying for IVF. But obviously there are also different criterias across the country. So in some places you're not entitled to IVF if your partner has children from a previous relationship. Your BMI impacts it, your age impacts it. There are so many varying criteria across the whole country. So the whole point of this campaign is to make it a level playing field for everyone. Because I live in Cambridgeshire, they were the easiest CCG to start with because I had already had involvement with my MP for when I've been quite vocal about this before, so it was quite easy to get him back on board with that. The campaign has now got over 30,000 signatures. On top of that, in December, so we launched it in November during Fertility Week. I had been doing a lot of work on it for about 6 months before we launched. But in November we launched, and we have now exceeded 30,000 signatures. In December, we got the backing of every single MP in Cambridgeshire, and they wrote a cross-party letter, which means that MPs from different parties in Cambridgeshire all wrote a letter to the CCG asking them to basically give us the time of day and have a conversation with us about the campaign and about how it feels to be infertile, etc, etc. We did manage to secure this meeting. The meeting was postponed. It was meant to take place in, I think it was April, the end of April, and it was postponed, but that took place on Tuesday. I think the meeting went really, really well. I had invited a few local ladies who I speak to who have been impacted by the postcode lottery. It was a really good opportunity. The meeting was an hour and we went over everything from our own personal stories to why we're so concerned, to people going abroad where quite often multiple embryo transfers are encouraged, and there are higher risks involved when pregnant with twins, etc. So we went over all of this and went over the entirety of the campaign, and Cambridgeshire and Peterborough CCG are now reviewing their stance on IVF and the fact that they offer no treatment whatsoever. So we now have a month to wait for that to go, for their review to be held effectively. I think the date is the 6th of July. And yeah, so hopefully next time I speak to you, we will be days away from finding out whether or not that has been overturned. And if that is overturned, then hallelujah, praise, I have literally faith in the world again. So yeah, really exciting. It's been a really wild couple of weeks, in all honesty, just with regards to the changes to our treatment, the campaign, like everything is just going wild. But I'm really excited. So I could be going to Greece next month. I could not be, but either way, it's all going really, really well, and I'm really quite excited. So I will take you to London with us for the DNA fragmentation test. I'm really looking forward to that, and actually just going to London for the day, it'll be quite nice to get out and about. But yeah, there'll be a lot to update you on hopefully over the next couple of months. So it's really exciting to be involved in these TTC diaries. So I hope you have all had a lovely weekend. I hope the weather has held up. On the day of filming this, it's really gross. So I hope the weather has been wonderful. I might still be alive. I might not after this 26-mile walk tomorrow. We'll see. So you might get a video from me in future. You might not. But yeah, hopefully I'm still in one piece after this walk tomorrow. But we will see. But thanks so much for watching again. I hope you're all doing really, really well. Like I say, you can follow me on Instagram at amber.izzo. You can follow my own YouTube channel, which is just Amber Izzo. And yeah, please keep an eye on the campaign, the Fight for IVF campaign. And yeah, I will see you next time for volume, I'm going to say 4. I'm going to say volume 4, but I think, I don't know. I don't even know what volume it is. I lose track. But I will see you for my next video anyway. So take care and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.